Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live weekly chat. And wow, it has been a voluptuous week this week because the royals are back to work. So we're going to be doing lots of talking about what the British royal family have been up to. As always, the format is exactly the same. Please say hello if you're watching live and you can see the chat window. Say hello, leave a comment, ask a question. It's really up to you. I do always have a list of things that I definitely want to speak about, but as always, you pretty much always mention the things that are on my list anyway. So it really is over to you guys. So without further ado, let's go and see the chat window, which I pre-opened already. So I can see Phoebe D, hello to you. I can see James Medford, hello to you. I can see Christine. I can see Van Al Girl, otherwise known as Candice. I can see Jen. I can see HW. And I can see Susan. I'm great. So thank you for asking. And I hope you've all had a fantastic week too. Hello also to Jamie in the chat room, otherwise known as Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, who says, greetings to you, Your Grace. And actually, for an interesting point to make, last week, Jamie mentioned the aquamarines, and the Queen was seen this week wearing a pair of Boucheron aquamarine clips. So perhaps the Queen was watching, who knows? And Tim, hello to you too. And hello to Kathleen, who is in Los Angeles, in California. By the way, if I have to reach for these today, do not be surprised. I am suffering with a slight sore throat and a little bit of a cold coming on, I think, but I think I'm catching it in time. It comes from my day job working in schools with all bugs and germs and diseases and all this kind of thing. So that's why I pick up lots of bugs often. So I have my throat sweets ready just in case. So do excuse me if I pop one in. Tim is in Nashville. And Jory Bennett says, good evening. Can I ask a question? Yes, you can. About the burials below the floor of Windsor Chapel. Has her HMQ decided? Yes, she is going to be buried in the same vault as her father and her mother, and the ashes of her sister. So she will definitely be there. I think we spoke about this ages ago. About saying that, you know, it's a fairly low-key burial, and considering that she is the longest reigning monarch, the oldest monarch that we've had, you know, she keeps on breaking records. And at Frogmore, there is a massive mausoleum to Victoria and Albert, and some people are saying, probably me included, perhaps I even started it off, that maybe she should have something a little bit more grander, a little bit more like the mausoleum of Victoria and Albert. Obviously for her and for Philip. But yes, there is space that's been allocated in the same crypt as George VI. So that's where she's intended to go, but maybe we may be looking at something grander. Who knows? Okay, Jen says flu shot. Well, my work does actually offer flu jabs, but I've not had it because a couple of years ago, interesting story, nothing royal related, but I had the flu jab, and literally about 5 days later I came down with the most horrendous cold that I think I've ever had. And it was because it was a time of when swine flu was going around everywhere, and they put a little bit of swine flu in the vaccination. And even though it can't be proved, I am pretty certain that that gave me a really bad cold. And this year I know there's lots of really bad cold and flus from Australia way, and I know that they've put those strains of things in the flu jab for this year, and I'm not going to risk it. So I managed okay last year, and I'm going to try and manage again this year without it. Tim says, so sad to hear of Her Majesty stepping down on so many events. Yes, you're talking about the fact that Her Majesty is handing over the wreath-laying part of the Remembrance Sunday service at the Cenotaph. This is the annual event that she's attended, I think, over 60 times now. She has missed it on a few occasions. I think it was due to childbirth or, you know, being into heavy stages of pregnancy, or even when she was away on foreign overseas tours. So she hasn't attended every single one, but pretty much she's attended, you can pretty much say, all of them since her reign began. But, you know, it is held in the cold, in the period of time in the UK when there could be rain, there could be wind, there could be cold temperatures. She's standing for at least 25 minutes. And when you're 91, it's probably a better precaution to not perform that particular duty. However, she isn't going to be absent from the ceremony entirely. She will be watching from the balcony, the same one that Camilla and Catherine have been seen on in recent years. So that's a traditional balcony where members of the royal family can kind of spectate. So she will be there. The wreath will be presented on her behalf by Prince Charles, son and heir, the Prince of Wales. So perhaps it's a sensible step that she's handing over that duty. HW says, Elliot, you have the movie star hairstyle going on. You handsome devil. Well, thank you very much. Also, 1 tablespoon of organic apple cider vinegar. Ugh, sounds a bit disgusting. In a glass of water daily will keep you well all cold season. But it sounds gross. It really does. I like lemon sips. Kathleen says, I agree. Something special for Elizabeth and Philip when they pass. Jory says, thank you for answering that. Susan says, Elliot, it's a weekend. Send me a bottle of wine. Well, to be honest, I don't really drink that much alcohol, really. Just maybe a little bit of champagne at Christmas, weddings, parties, that kind of thing. Tim says, does anyone think the Queen will step back at Trooping the Colour and state opening? Oh, I don't think so. I think those are part of her sacred duties that she likes to perform. However, you know, we have seen, for example, the crown being carried in front of her for the last state opening. It does weigh an awful lot of weight, and you know, it wouldn't be too bad if she just kind of left off the crown. Maybe it is quite heavy. However, you know, in years to come, maybe if she isn't able to do that walk as mobile as she is now, perhaps Charles could step in and perform that duty. Jen says, you got your flu jab. Jamie says, I think this year she had a good enough excuse to stop laying the wreath. I imagine she's wanted that in the past but couldn't find a reason. Well, she's got her reason. You know, it's cold, and she's 91. Dawn says, oh, hello to Dawn, who's otherwise known as Lady Buckingham. Hi everyone, here for just a little bit. Hope everyone has had a great week. I know I have, and I hope you have too. Jamie says, I'm eating from my Prescott chocolates, the ones with a royal warrant, of course. Well, I heard from the royal chef, Darren McGrady, who's no longer a royal chef, but a previous royal chef. And he's said on his Twitter account, and in an article I think I read, that the Queen loves dark chocolate. The darker, the better. Catherine Ann says, hello from Chicago. Hello to you. And hello to Valerie. Jamie says, at Lady Buckingham, what did I say about you saying you won't show up and then showing up? Well, she did. And I'm glad she did. Tim says, does everyone ever wonder if Charles ever thinks, I don't want to be a king, I change my mind? Well, obviously, no one really gets a choice if they're going to be king or not. It kind of just happens. Or queen. You are in the line, and that's how you become king or queen. I think he probably wants to take control of the role that he's been waiting for so long. And it's one of those difficult situations where to be the monarch, you usually would have to wait until the previous monarch is deceased. However, I still maintain that we are in uncharted waters and something special could be done. The Queen doesn't meet any of the criteria that we currently have for there to be a regency. So perhaps something new, a new opportunity could be on the horizon. Perhaps even maybe a co-monarchy. with Charles as king and Elizabeth as queen. It's never been done before in terms of mother and daughter, but we have had a king and queen co-monarchy before. So perhaps, you know, something, it could be an opportunity to have something new, which I would technically be in favour of. Susan says, send me a lot of kisses to Queen Elizabeth, one love. Valerie says, like the bow tie, you guys are cool, chat later. Jen likes ginger ale. Okay, Jamie says, just notice the pumpkins. Now they complement the flowers. Well, they are usually in a different part of the house, but I brought them through today so that you can all see my pumpkins. Dawn says, I am the same way. You had the flu shot once and had the worst flu ever. Now I do oil of oregano and cold FX. Well, you're not supposed to be able to catch the cold from the flu jab. They do say that it is a fabrication and a misconception that you can catch the flu from the flu jab. However, in my experience, I had the worst cold ever just literally 5 days after having the flu jab. So, you know, in my head, I've correlated a link between the two. And I don't, if I can help not having the flu jab, then I'm not going to. Jamie says, maybe the reason she's so short is because the crown pushes her down. It is a heavy weight to carry and a heavy weight to bear. Kathleen says, what is the latest about the Duchess of Cambridge's pregnancy? Due date, do we know, boy or girl? Okay, I'm going to start backwards. No, we don't know if it's going to be a boy or a girl. And from previous pregnancies, we know that Catherine and William don't like to know. They like it to be a surprise. So no, we don't know that. As for due date, we think round about April, end of March, April. But again, nothing confirmed. They don't release that. We just know that we found out in the early stages of her pregnancy. And do we know how she's doing? Well, she was seen at a recent mental health charity event at Buckingham Palace with William and Harry. And she looked okay. She looked in really good health. And you could see a little bit of her baby bump. So if you want to see that video, please go and do check that one out. Candice says, when all senior female members are invited to the same formal events, how are the decisions made on who wears which tiaras and other jewels? Well, the Queen, well, by the way, if the female members of the royal family haven't got their own tiaras already, and they do loan them, some of the members have tiaras already on long-term loan. So pretty much the Queen has kind of gifted them. But if ever anything happened, they would return back to the Queen. So Princess Anne, I think she has her own, or she has some on long-term loan. Camilla has tiaras on long-term loan, which is usually ones that the Queen Mother used to wear. And Catherine has some on loan too, which is the Papyrus and the Cambridge Lover's Knot. So they kind of stick to the ones that they usually wear. So there shouldn't be an occasion where there should be a clash of tiaras, because they're all different anyway. Tim says, is it true the Queen and Prince Philip have separate bedrooms? It is believed so, and it is a custom that is kind of common in the British upper classes and royalty, is that separate bedrooms are the way to go. I mean, obviously, you know, on occasions they must come together. You know, they produce children. So, you know, I don't think it's a barrier to that side of things. And I'm sure we don't want to think about that side of things at their age, although who knows, they are both sprightly. But yes, they do have separate bedrooms, it is believed, as do lots of upper class people in Britain. It is the done thing, if you are an aristocrat, that you have separate bedrooms. HW says, is Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II actually James Samuel? Who knows? Jamie says, you usually keep pumpkins in your house. Yes, at Halloween. And I believe lots of Americans and Canadians do it too. You decorate the inside of your houses with pumpkins. Please tell me I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. James Mentor says, Prince Edward's uniform and medals article, some controversy thoughts. I've not seen it. I've not seen any controversy thoughts? Is the controversy that he's got the medals? Is that what people are saying is the controversy? Well, don't forget, in the collection of medals, usually there are commemorative medals for the Queen's Jubilees. So some of them won't be war medals. Some of them will be from potential active service in the past. And I'm not sure entirely which campaigns each of the royals took part in, but some of them could be from past campaigns they've had a role in. Some of them could be even if they are, you know, a royal sort of leader of that troop. I couldn't think of the right word then. Regiment, if they're a regiment leader. So a lot of the medals that he might have might not be actual service medals. So therefore that kind of allays controversy, possibly. Tim says, whatever happened to Queen Victoria's small crown? Is she buried with it? No, and that is a really gorgeous crown. It's actually in the jewel house at the Tower of London with all the crown jewels. So it's on display. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's very lightweight and very wearable, and it was made for Queen Victoria because she didn't like anything heavy on her head. It gave her headaches. The arches on the crown are detachable, so you can just have it as a coronet. And I always thought that it's a very versatile piece for modern day use. For example, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, would look really good with the arches removed and the coronet worn around some kind of elaborate updo. And just imagine a modern kind of, you know, bun coming through the coronet part of the small diamond crown. It would look spectacular. So I can definitely see a use for it in the future. Susan says good night, so good night to you. Jory says the St Edward's crown weighs £5, the imperial crown £2.5, but that's still a hefty weight to have on your head, especially at age 91. Although the Queen is used to it, she's worn it, you know, almost each year throughout her long reign. But you know, sometimes you have to make concessions, and the Queen is doing so. Jamie saying what I just said, no bits with the crown jewels in the Tower of London, and I saw it too a couple of years ago. Dawn says, why during the coronation do they switch between the Edward's crown and the imperial crown? Well, the St Edward's crown is a traditional, I suppose, if you want to call it the proper crown, it's the proper crown that you're coronated with. The imperial crown is the one that kind of brings everything together and the one that's worn to the state openings. So the St Edward's one is kind of the more traditional crown, if you like, and it's the one, I suppose it's in a way the more important crown because it's the one that you are coronated with. That's the one that they place on the monarch's head when they're actually being crowned. They aren't crowned with the imperial state, but the imperial state is the very glitzy one. It's the one that's worn at the state occasions, like that. Kathleen says, there are hundreds of cold viruses, totally different than influenza. Influenza is a whole different animal which can kill you. You cannot get influenza from a flu shot. You got a cold. Well, whatever I had, it was horrendous, and I got it immediately after the flu jab. Jory says, is it true that Queen Mary was a collectomaniac? I wouldn't, well, say a collectomaniac, perhaps, but she certainly wanted to restore the royal collection. She wanted to fill it out, and she wanted to go after all the old pieces that had been potentially lost or loaned, and she set about getting them back and adding and expanding to the collection. So in a way, yes, I suppose she was a kleptomaniac, thinking about it, but she did a really good job because the royal collection is one of the most important, valuable collections in the world, and of course saved in trust for the nation. And yes, Jamie rightly saying that the Edward's crown is so heavy. You know, it takes a lot to wear it. Annette says, I always wanted a separate bedroom when I was married. Got tired of defensive sleeping. You know, maybe separate bedrooms are the way forward if you have space. Steve had technical issues again. And have I talked about Remembrance Day yet? Yes, we have. We've said the Queen is no longer going to physically lay the wreath, but she will be there in attendance on the day. HW says, good night, Elliot. James Samuel is nasty. Oh no. Please don't fight, people. We're here to have a good time. Candice says, here in Canada, pumpkins are everywhere this time of year, and I have pumpkins elsewhere in the house too. Those are just two of my smaller ones to fit on the table. Annette says, Kathleen, flu shots compromise some immune systems, so much that they get really wicked colds after the shot. Well, maybe that's what happened to me. James Medford says, yes, the controversy was the medals, but they are all from the Queen, as I've said. They brought up the subject of him leaving the Royal Marines. Well, like I say, most of the medals were probably not from active service, so you know, it's one of those things where it's controversy for nothing, kind of. Jory says, I have full respect for Her Majesty's favourite aperitif, gin and dubonnet, 50-50. Actually, I'm not quite sure of the measure. It is in a book, and it's actually in my, I'm trying to remember now, it's in my my like working royals book. There's also a DVD with it as well, and it does say the ratio that she has, her gin and dubonnet. I'm not quite sure it was 50-50, but I'll have to look that one up. Jory says, Queen Victoria's small crown is in the crown jewels. It is indeed. James Medford says, I like the diadem that she wears before she switches to the crown. The George IV state diadem. Carrying it in front of her is just fine. Annette says, in the US, we have pumpkins inside and out this time of year too. White, pink, orange, blackish green, very festive. James Medford says, is the St Edward's crown from before or after Cromwell? I believe that was the one that survived. I think it's the one that survived Cromwell's diabolical destruction of the crown jewels. Phoebe D says, Candice says, same here, they look great, thank you so much. That's my pumpkins, not me. Phoebe D says, will Harry lose his line of the throne? No, no, no. No, 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 and no. It matters not one jot if Meghan is American, a divorcee, or pink with purple spots. Harry will not lose his position in the line of the throne. The only time he will get displaced further down the line is if William and Catherine have more children, i.e. royal baby number 3, or when their children, George, Charlotte, or royal baby number 3, have their children. Jamie says, just finished the book, The Wicked Wit of Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II. I've got that one too. You'd recommend it, and so would I. Candice says, thank you, Elliot. Yes, please, everyone, let's not have any arguing this week. Not that I'm important or anything, but they get me down. I'm sure it bothers others as well. Let's all be friends. We are all here because we have a very shared interest in the royal family. Linda Golan says, hello, enjoyed your videos on Her Majesty wearing more aquamarines this week. Maybe her people watched your channel and saw how much we enjoyed her tiara. Oh, shall we do a test? Shall we talk about what we'd like the Queen to wear this week and see if she does? And it could be a secret code from the Queen to us that she is actually watching. Shall we choose something? Okay, let's choose something. I'll let you guys choose, then I'll read it out. The most common answer, so think about a jewelry piece or a brooch or a colour, maybe even a colour that you would like the Queen to wear in the upcoming week to be seen with on public duty. And we'll see if her people or the Queen are watching. We'll do a test. And it could be her secret communication between us. Jamie says, the bottom part of St Edward's crown survived, but the top was reconstructed by Charles II. I knew part of it, at least, was the original. I do have a book on it separately, on the actual key core crown jewels. Annette says, love the Queen's brooches this week. Went out with Princess Anne. Were they aquamarine and diamond? Yes, they were. And they were made by Boucheron, Boucheron, and they were diamond and aquamarine. They are deco style, and they are the Queen's. They were bought for her as a present, and they are actually clips. So they're two clips which can be worn separately. They can be worn as she did, on top of one another, which she most commonly does, or they can be turned around to make one big brooch, which she less commonly wears, but she has done that before in the past, and they are gorgeous. I do love aquamarines, and I was trying to find something in aquamarine for myself to wear. Unfortunately, there aren't any royal replicas of aquamarine jewellery, but I might be able to source some different aquamarine for me. So let's see. James Medford says, on my Parliament trip, I made a day trip to London. Do you think you can do future day trips? I did do a day trip, but it was very, very tight. It was literally get up early, train down, possibly miss a few trains. You get there, you literally have no time in London. You just kind of rush to the destination you're going to. So usually just probably one thing. Then you do that one thing, straight back on the train, straight back to Shropshire for me. So it was tight. It was very, very tight. But if there is something specifically to go and do or see, then it is possible. It is possible I could do that again in the future. Dawn says the new snowflake brooch. I think she's saving that one for a special occasion though. It'll either be something Canadian that could be upcoming, or I'm thinking the Christmas message. Steve says, thoughts on Cromwell? Should he be considered part of royalty as he was king in all but name? No, I don't think he should be considered royalty. He was more of a dictator, I suppose. So no, I don't think he should be considered royalty. He was not in the line of succession. However, you know, I have spoke before about that the crown can be won and lost through battle. You know, sometimes people that weren't in the line of succession won the crown through battle. You could kind of say that he won control of the country through battle, but he didn't make himself king. That's the important thing to remember. All the others that won the crown through battle declared themselves king. Cromwell didn't. So no, I don't think he should. Linda says, obviously would like to see the aquamarine tiara again. It was stunning. Well, she wore that last time, I think, for a state banquet. So I don't think we'll see that on 2 consecutive occasions. Jamie says, please wear the snowflake. And for clothes, turquoise. So if you're listening, Your Majesty, please wear turquoise for Jamie. And you love the 2 turquoise and black outfits, which you last saw at the Maundy service in Leicester. Okay, that's very specific. So Your Majesty, if you're listening, or even Angela Kelly, if you're listening. Okay, James Bedford says, I love her in aqua green or aqua blue because I love those colours. Okay, so we've got sort of turquoise, aqua green, aqua blue. Shall we say that kind of thing? Okay, so Your Majesty, if you're watching, or if anyone's watching that knows you, we would like to say turquoise or any of the aqua kind of colours. And as for jewellery, I don't think you're going to wear the snowflake for us, but let's see. Okay, one of Queen Victoria's bow brooches. Okay, if you're watching, one of Queen Victoria's bow brooches. Francesca says, good evening, you look so elegant. Thank you so much. I'm sure you do too. Jamie says, I'd love, love, love if you wore the lime green again, but don't see that. Okay, that's the green screen outfit. I don't think we're going to see the green screen one again. That's just too tempting for people on the internet to go crazy with. Christine says, I like the brooch that I'm wearing, which is the flower basket. You also like the maple leaf. Annette says, just love those deco brooches. Your engagement ring was aquamarine with white gold. It still is. I just haven't worn it for a while. Well, wear it. Get it out. And if you have amazing things, wear them and use them. That's my tip. Jamie says, Lord Protector is different from King. That could be the same as saying Prime Minister is King because they have de facto rule. I would agree with you. It is, but I think Cromwell kind of took it to the extreme slightly because he kind of wanted to pass it on to his son. So it was kind of, I would say, a dictatorship similar to perhaps what we have, well, what they have in maybe North Korea, kind of a hereditary dictatorship. I think that's what he foresaw. Okay, Lady Roxanne said, is there any of King John's family still around? I would imagine there would be ancestors, but don't ask me who. I have no idea. Candice says, Her Majesty looks wonderful in gold. It's a wonderful autumn colour too. Well, it's this time of year that her palette of colours does change. Angela Kelly in her book did say it's in the autumn and winter where she does use more autumnal colours. So, you know, our little test of the aquamarine or the turquoise may just kind of be out of the season, but we'll see, because she did wear a nice blue coat coming back from Scotland, so we'll see. Okay, Jory says, do you know what Cromwell said when offered the crown himself? I don't, off the top of my head. Lady Roxanne Webber says, Robin Egg is very nice on her. I'm not sure what Robin Egg is. What's Robin Egg? Jen says blues, absolutely. Jamie says, wonder why the Queen stopped wearing orange and yellow. Maybe she will for this autumn. Dawn says, have to say the Queen looks good in anything she wears. I would agree there. And you're wondering if her hats get recovered somehow, or does she honestly have every colour of hat? She has her in-house design team led by Angela Kelly, who make her hats. If you get the book by Angela Kelly, I've shown it you before. I know Jamie's got it, and it shows you all the different hat molds, these sort of wooden hat molds which they use to construct the hats. So pretty much she has new hats made all the time for her new outfits. Jamie says, I just want to see the Queen somewhere this week. Her appearance in any fashion never failed to put a smile on my face from ear to ear. Sue R says, hi from New Zealand. Hope this isn't off topic, but do you know what happened to Princess Margaret's wedding tiara? I know it was auctioned and wondered if it had been seen, but I hadn't necessarily heard it had been auctioned. I would imagine it would have gone to Lady Sarah Chateau. I'm going to have to look into that one because I'm not so sure it has been auctioned. We shall see. Annette says, Jory, he said that. What a good Christian. And James Medford says, did you see the corgis get carried on the plane in Scotland? Yes, I made the video. I put those photos in the video. It's cute to see how lucky her dogs are. And I think one of them at least got to sit in the cockpit with her. So yes, very lucky corgis indeed. Francesca says, do I think Meghan is in London? I heard rumours that she was, but no photos. So don't hold me to it, but I did hear talk that she was indeed in London. Jory says, you are a blood descendant of King John, but not proud of the fact. Wow, to know that, you must have your family tree gone back way, 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 way far. I've done mine to the 1700s, but haven't gone beyond that. Jen thinks Meghan's not in London. Do we have any photos of where Meghan is? Oh dear says, hi all, late again, but joining now. Please show us the Angela Kelli book. I have heard of it, but never seen it. Would like a copy. I'll get it for next week. And I've left my cup of tea over there. So I'm just going to vanish for a second to go and grab it. Oh, I'm back. I needed it. Okay, Jane says, when is Harry getting engaged? And do I think people will accept Meghan? Okay, so I think we've spoken about this for weeks and weeks and weeks. We don't know the exact date they're going to announce their engagement. We don't know if they're already engaged. But we think it could be, within the next few weeks, or if not, it could be slightly before Christmas. Those are the two most likely times that an announcement will be made or would be made. We don't think it's going to clash with anything that's upcoming. So if not within the next couple of weeks, I would probably say before Christmas, so that Meghan can go to Sandringham with Harry. Steve says, what does the Queen do with her old clothes that she no longer wants? Well, she doesn't give them away. I think they get pretty much stored away. I think things like buttons or any beading could be reused from certain items of clothing, but basically they're stored away. And in the Angela Kelli book, you can see the Queen's kind of wardrobe, and lots of things are laid flat in drawers and are hung up in, big protective coating things. The Queen's furs, which are real furs, are stored in temperature controlled, a bit like fridges, I suppose, but they kind of keep things at the right temperature for fur, whatever that is. So her clothes are stored away impeccably. Christine says, I love the corgis. James Medford says, yes, it was auctioned because it was bought for her wedding and not a royal artifact. I will have to look that one up, but I didn't hear that it was auctioned. Odia says, I'm pretty sure that I have a direct lineage with William the Conqueror. I do hope so. I would love it if I did. And Candice says, I agree. Okay, I'm going to just move down my questions. Or have I got to the bottom of them? Okay, hang on. Jory says, what is your take on the abdication crisis in 1936? Was Edward VIII a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it made no difference in terms of where we would be today, because the Queen would always have been the Queen. It just means she'd have come to the throne a little bit later if the abdication hadn't happened. I think the abdication at the time could have brought down the monarchy if he'd have stayed and not abdicated. However, it didn't happen. Perhaps everything happens for a reason. And I think the monarchy survived because the people wanted it to. And, post abdication, the people accepted George VI and Queen Elizabeth as their monarchs and took them to heart. And I think, like I say, because Edward didn't have children, it kind of just brought things forward a bit. So my take on it is that, it happened. Perhaps it happened for a reason, but times have changed. Would that happen today if the circumstances were there? No, I don't think so. Annette says, oh my God, the Queen must have a warehouse for all her clothes by now. Well, she has a palace. I'm sure it's big enough for clothes storage. Lady Roxanne says, I'm a direct descendant of King John. His family moved to the USA. Nicole says, hi Elliot, what is the truth about Meghan and Harry's house hunting? Meghan could have been in London because Canada's Thanksgiving was on Monday. She's probably working now. I definitely heard rumours that she was in London. Where she is now, I don't know. Does anybody have any proof of where she is? I've not seen any photos, which is why I haven't reported on anything. In terms of the house hunting, there have been rumours but it's all unsubstantiated. It really is rumours, which is why, again, I've not spoken about it. When I last spoke about Harry house hunting, there was kind of concrete evidence that he'd been to view those properties. In this case, it is just speculation, so I haven't bothered. There was talk that he's perhaps looking to view properties in the same area as Highgrove, which is where Prince Charles lives, and where Harry spent, you know, a portion of his growing up, which kind of makes sense. But also, I knew that Prince Charles bought up several surrounding properties and estates to Highgrove, so perhaps Prince Charles intended that Harry get one of those properties. So would Harry be looking for his own estates where he has to kind of buy in? I'm not so sure. And also, they just basically in the article got a load of houses that were in the area that were expensive and said that Harry could be looking at those. Well, that to me isn't enough evidence to say that he's looking at that property. So it's an article that kind of means nothing to me, so I haven't kind of spoken about it. We don't know if they're looking for a house. We don't even know if they're engaged officially. So I think we should hold off perhaps on the house talk for now. As I said, I made a video last year about a potential viewing that he had, but that was true. He had viewed that property, but as of now, we don't know if that is indeed true. Dawn has to go, so have a great week, Dawn. Jamie says the Baltimore tiara, the one worn by Margaret at her wedding, was sold in 2006 for £920,000. Wow. You heard of its sale called A Rift between David Linley and the late Lord Snowdon. Oh my goodness. Well, okay. Well, there we have it. It was sold in 2006. I hadn't heard myself that it had sold. So £920,000. And again, I'm afraid I'm not sure about that thread because I hadn't heard of it. So I don't know about any rift. Jamie says, bye, chat later. So goodbye to you. Jory says, Edward VIII has been a very long reigning monarch, 1936 to 72. He would have done if he'd have been monarch, that is true. Victoria says, hello from Canada. Is the Queen the monarch of the Isle of Man? My grandfather emigrated to Canada. The Queen is monarch of any of the British territories, including overseas territories, and there's some Caribbean nations too. So lots and lots of different Commonwealth countries that the Queen is head of state of. By the way, I'm going to, I told you about it last week and I forgot to bring it, but my PO box. I've put the PO box address now on my main title page of my YouTube channel. I've posted it in all my social media accounts. So if you want to find it, you can find it there. I've put it in the description of this video when it goes live, and it is Royal Reviewer YouTube, PO Box 791, Telford, TF7 9GB. So if you want to send me anything, a Christmas card, a letter, anything you want me to review, if you're a company watching and you've got a product that you'd like me to review and you want to send me something, send it to Royal Reviewer YouTube, PO Box 791, Telford, TF7 9GB. So there you go. That is my PO box. Jamie says, I'm not going anywhere. I was just saying bye to Dawn. Oh, it looked like you were saying goodbye as well. James Medford says, Harry is doing a great job on his official engagements. Everyone looks happy to see him. He did accept an award on his mother's behalf. I'm impressed with the prince. Yes, he did. It was a posthumous award and he made a speech. And you can watch that speech in the video. that I put on my YouTube channel. And it's very, very nice that Diana is still being honoured and that William and Harry have both found their voices to talk about her and her legacy. Rachel Hairston says, "Hi Elliot, missing live chat today. Out with my realtor. Much loved. See you next week. We'll have fun house hunting." Jamie says, "Then after Edward VIII, we would have Queen Emily Windsor Craig. It's a shame we missed out on such a potential." Okay, and I'm leaving that controversial one there. Jamie says, "Write the PO box in the chat." Okay. Hang on. Let me do it. So it's Royal Reviewer. No, my capital letters have got locked. Right, I'll write it at the end when I've got time. So otherwise I'll just be there forever. And I can't see because the light is really bright. Okay. What did you all think about my London Westminster vlog? Unfortunately, I couldn't film too much when I was there. As I said last week, you know, some of the rooms you would expect to be able to film in, you couldn't. But I tried to vlog as much as I could from there. And I wanted to talk about Prince William kind of stepping up and doing what he promised when he left his helicopter job, and that was to become a full-time working royal. So I think he's done a lot of engagements this week, but I think he really steps up next week. So I think we'll see lots more on the channel about Prince William and the work that he's doing. Charles and Camilla are looking for an organic chef. So if you want to work for Charles and Camilla and you are an excellent chef and you have organic credentials, you can apply. And Prince Harry has attended lots of black tie events this week too. One of the ones was what we just spoke about the Diana Award. And I think he looks really good in black tie. And I did love the photographs of Princess Anne and the Queen. And they attended the Army and Naval event at Pall Mall. James Medford says, "Am I reading Princess Michael's book?" I've started it and it is really, really good. It's her account of her time spent in Africa with cheetahs. Cheetahs as in the animal, not as in a type of man. Jory Bennett says, well, I'll give you more details about that book once I've read a little bit more of it. Jory says, "I've recently finished reading Anne Wilson's biography of Queen Victoria and was impressed and can recommend it. There are several surprising facts he includes, such as Queen Victoria had a stepsister." Jamie says, "Vlog was great. The part where the music stopped and you talked from your desk was really nice, made it feel very one-to-one." And I actually filmed that part of it, of the vlog, after last week's chat. Okay, let's get controversial for just a second. I also did a little bit of a comedy sketch this week, which was Great British Put-Downs. And I started off with Brazen Hussy. And some people got the humour, I think, from the start, and some people perhaps didn't really get the British sense of humour. It's kind of a bit old school. It's the type of comments and put downs that, you know, people of yesteryear might say, which are still kind of fairly funny in British humour today. And there will be more of them. I have more coming. Jamie says, "I wish Angela Kelly would help Princess Anne out with her style. No offence to her, she's a very beautiful woman who could rock hold colours, but needs to spruce up." Angela Kelly works wonders with the Queen's fashion and makes the Queen almost, I suppose, above fashion in a way. the Queen has her very own personal style. And in a way, Princess Anne does too, with her beehive hair. And I don't think anyone could tell Princess Anne what to wear. I wouldn't like to try. James Bedford says, I got the humour. I've watched every episode of Ab Fab. Annette says, Brazen Hussy was hysterical. Christine says, I love the vlog, been to the Parliament buildings, but didn't have time to go in. Go, it's really good. It is definitely worth a trip. Candice says, your comedy sketch was hilarious. I look forward to many more. Okay, I would like to mention as well all my different, I suppose, different social media accounts. So for those of you who want to follow me on Twitter, I have a Twitter account. It's Royal Reviewer on Twitter. There's an Instagram. There is a main Facebook page, and there is a Facebook group of Royal Reviewer. There's also a private Facebook group for Royal Reviewer Patreons on Patreon. What else do I have? There's a Google Plus. So there's all these different social medias which you can also like me on, follow me on, subscribe to. Odia says, loved Brazen Hussy. Do more, you devil you. Christine Suckup is laughing at Brazen Hussy. Jamie says, do you have Twitter? I must follow you. I didn't know that. I know you know I've got Twitter. And sometimes I may post, things that I don't post in other places on those different forms of social media. Also, I post things on my Patreon account. Patreon account. So you can become a patron on Patreon, and you can get different rewards. Jen says, I lost my chat, but got it back. I'm glad you made it back. Let's run through a few diary dates. So, we've had World Mental Health Day. Oh, by the way, it's Wool Week. Prince Charles, I'm sure, he's an ambassador for wool. So it's Wool Week from the 16th. So there may be some things coming out from that. So wear your winter woolens. On Monday the 16th, the Duke of Cambridge and Prince Harry are at the Charities Forum event at Paddington Station. On the 18th, which is Wednesday, Duke of Cambridge and Prince Harry are attending a graduation ceremony for the charity We Are Coach Corps. And then the following week, we have Prince Harry, who is having a 2-day visit to Denmark, and he starts in Copenhagen. So there's a few interesting dates coming up. Oh, and a new one that was announced on the 31st of October, we have Prince Harry attending the inaugural Obama Foundation Summit held in Chicago. So a few interesting things coming up. Jamie says, that feeling you were talking about of being in the same spot as the Queen really resonated with me. Well, it was. I mean, it was just, you've seen the Queen so many times in that spot and walking up those steps in the Sovereign's entrance. I thought, I'm following where she walked, and I kind of stayed, central, so I could be in the same spot, definitely, that she stood in. Being in the robing room as well, and even knowing that the Queen has her own. Did I mention that she has her own toilet? I can't remember. Yes, but so she has her own toilet in the robing room behind a big wooden door. So obviously, when you get to a certain age, being jostled about by carriage, walking upstairs, by the time you get to the top, you probably need the loo. So the Queen does have her own private toilet in the robing room, and it's hidden away. So being where she was, walking that same processional route was just absolutely amazing to know that she's been there and she's walked that walk, and that you're seeing and feeling what she felt. It was amazing. Amanda says, I am fascinated with the family history of Prince Philip. I was interested to find that Prince Philip's grandma Olga was the granddaughter of Tsar Russia Nicholas I. So many historical connections, and of course the royal families of Europe kind of mixed together by their dynastic marriage choices. Queen Victoria being one of the main players in the sort of dynastic play for sort of placing her daughters and sons with different marriages from all across Europe. Jamie says, I can't explain that feeling, but it feels so good. Jamie says, an ambassador of wool, such a prestigious title. I don't think it's an official title as the ambassador for wool, but he takes a very keen interest in the pushing of wool, if that's even a thing. So he champions the wool, and he leads lots of campaigns on wool and it being a sustainable fibre. So he thinks everyone should be wearing and making use of wool, and even wool in things like insulation, because it's a sustainable natural fibre. Jory says, which title would you most like to receive? Knight of the Order of the British Empire or the Order of Merit? Neither. I would like to be the Duke of Shropshire. Oh dear says, the Roving Room was outstanding. I have no idea. Really appreciated the coverage on my field trip to Parliament. Well, thank you so much. And as I said, the rooms where I couldn't really film in, I included photographs which I'd sourced. So you still got a good sense of where I went and the route that I went along. Jamie says, I didn't know he was going to Denmark. That's exciting. Marguerite is my second favourite monarch. Can't wait for that. And Jamie says, I'm glad the heir to the throne here isn't Crown Prince. I think that sounds a bit cheap. The Prince of Wales sounds much stronger. Oh dear says, Prince Philip is the Queen's cousin, but not sure how many removed second or third cousin. Do you know? I'm not sure on the removed things. The removed bits does sometimes get me confused, but they are relatives and cousins, technically speaking, but not direct cousins, if you know what I mean. So it's not like, your mother or father's brother or sister's child. It's not that kind of cousin. There is instances of removal, but I'm not quite sure how many. Christine says, Elliot is our Duke of Shropshire. And Jamie says it's the third. There you go, third cousin removed. Odia says, I am a knitter of fine wool and would be interested in videos regarding Prince Charles's Wool Week. Well, I'll see what there is. I'm sure he will be doing something on it. Oh no, Jamie's changed his mind. He says it's second, actually. There you go. I told you, it's confusing, all these removed. Does anybody really understand all these removed things? Yeah, so, okay, so are we, any advances on second or third? Are we sticking with second? Shall we go with second? Okay, second cousin removed. We'll go with that. What does it say on Google? Can someone Google it? Jamie says, they are both great-great-grandchildren of Queen Victoria. There you go. And then you say, I'm not sure, it's very confusing. It is indeed. What does Google say? Maybe Google does say great-great-grandchildren of Queen Victoria. See, that's the sort of stuff you do need to kind of look up, unless you've researched it recently. Okay, let's check if I've got anything else to speak about. Otherwise, it's entirely over to you guys to ask whatever you want. Okay, I have actually done everything that I wanted to speak about. Jamie says, I know they're both great-grandchildren of Queen Victoria. Okay, we'll go with that. They're both great-grandchildren of Queen Victoria. Okay, Jen says, type the PO box in chat. Okay, I will try again. Let's go with it. So it's Royal reviewer YouTube. Okay, no one type for a minute, otherwise it'll not come out right. PO Box 791. Telford TF7 9GB. Okay, that is the full address. I don't believe if you're overseas you have to put UK on it because it's already got GB in the postcode, which is Great Britain. So I don't think you have to put anything else. It's just Royal Reviewer YouTube, PO Box 791, Telford TS7 9GB. I'm going back up. Jory Bennett says, sadly, Victoria and Albert's plan to liberalise the Prussian tradition of absolutism and the threat they pose to the rest of Europe by the marriage of Vicky, the Crown Princess, to Frederick, Prince of Prussia, went wrong with his premature death. Death is always something that can finish something, isn't it? Jamie says, I much prefer it with the hat, though. Oh, hang on, I've missed a bit as well. Jamie says, by the way, my favourite outfit of the Queen was the one she wore getting on the plane, but you much prefer it with the hat. There you go. I liked her travelling outfit too. She certainly travels in style. Oh dear says, Elliot, would you prefer whale blubber or smoked salmon from Canada for Christmas? I see you have your PO box now. Yeah. Well, okay, let me see. Well, let's start with whale blubber. I wouldn't even know where to begin with whale blubber. And I'm not entirely sure I would like anything sourced from a whale. I don't like the fact that whales have been killed for anything. Salmon. Salmon sounds good. I like salmon. I normally do my salmon in tin foil. But I'm not sure any kind of meat produce would possibly get through customs, do they? I don't know. I'm not sure about meat things getting through custom. I'm not sure what the laws are with them. But out of the two, I think I'd find more use for salmon, definitely. Flora, I'm going to call you Flora, says, at Her Majesty the Queen, Crown Prince is not cheap sounding. In German, the monarch's ancestry, it is Thronfolger or Crown Follower. German royal titles sound amazing. James Med says, first cousins are not advised to marry in the USA. Most states have laws against it, and I think we do too in the UK too. I think most people just wouldn't anyway. Jamie says, they are third cousins through Queen Victoria, but second cousins once removed through King Christian IX of Denmark. How confusing. Let's not even go there. Let's just say they are distant cousins and be done. Odia says, good point, RE foodstuffs to the UK. We'll check. It was just a thought. Candice says, I believe you mentioned that you collect stamps some time ago. Is that right? Yes, well, not so much me. I inherited a stamp collection. And it's a very lovely stamp collection. And I also had some bought me as a present by my friend from work, which was all those different stamps that I showed you a few weeks ago. Probably more than a few weeks ago now. Maybe a couple of months ago. After my birthday. Jory says they are related twice ways round. Well, there you go. Okay, so I'm going to go for this week. I think my throat has held up fairly well. I've had a few little coughs. I've drunk my drink of tea, and I've not had to delve into my throat sweets. So I think I'm going to leave it while the going's good. I've really enjoyed tonight's chat. You've asked some fabulous questions, and I really hope you come back next week. So it'll be the same time as always, 10 o'clock GMT. Sounds like gin and tea, doesn't it? No, Greenwich Mean Time, 10 o'clock every Saturday. So lots of people saying goodbye, so goodbye to you. Okay, so from me in Shropshire, quite a warm Shropshire. I'm quite hot actually. It's quite humid, and I don't have my heating on. From me in Shropshire, until next week, goodbye.